Hey guys, it's Denise. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before, hopefully you have. And take a moment to subscribe, and hopefully you'll decide that you want to like and hit the notification bell, and feel free to do those things in advance. Never hurts. You don't want to forget on the way out. Seriously though, today I wanted to talk about something a little different than what I usually talk about. I want to talk about health insurance. I know this is something that has been on a lot of people's minds, and as someone, if you've never heard me talk about my life, my health issues before, I was a nurse for 26 years. I had spinal cord damage, as not from an accident or that type of injury, but from a degenerative disease which caused my own vertebrae to grow sharp edges and basically internally start severing my own spinal cord. And it took a long time, I'm talking like a year, for them to properly diagnose why suddenly I was having trouble walking, why suddenly if I squatted down I couldn't get up, why I couldn't run at all without falling. This is from someone who trained horses, was working actively as a nurse, who has been, athletic and strong their whole life, and suddenly, if I bend down, I can't stand back up. I knew something was very seriously wrong with me, but nobody could tell me what it was. All the misdiagnosis and stuff, that can be its own 2-hour video. I'm not going to get into all of that. But what I do want to get into is how going from being in a well-paying profession where your health insurance comes through your employer, and you're generally in a pretty good negotiating position, especially if you're working in a union hospital where you have a contract that protects you. And that was most of my adult life. I always worked in a hospital or some sort of outpatient setting where I had, the full benefits package, paid vacation, personal time, sick time, prescription, health, I always had all those things until I became too sick to work in 2013, and it took until early 2014 for them to figure out why. So I guess I just want to talk to people who don't understand the importance of health insurance and don't understand the importance of what's happening right now with the threat to millions and millions and millions of American families and individuals whose health care coverage is being taken away. That the Supreme Court is trying to dismantle the Affordable Health Care Act. Now, I'm not naming names or political parties. I don't want to get into any of that. I just want to look at health care as it impacts individuals like me. I'm a human being. I'm a human being who went to college and got the degree and got the career and did everything you're supposed to do to be successful. And I was really good at my job, and I loved my job, and I did it for 26 years, and I paid taxes that whole time. And thank God I did, because part of what came out of every paycheck was disability. You might grumble when you look at your pay stub and you see how much they take out every payday, but when you see them taking out disability, disability SSD is defined as an insurance policy for working people that they pay into through payroll deduction. So SSD is not welfare. It is not a handout. If I hadn't paid what I paid for those 26 years into it, I would not have been entitled to get what I get. And believe me, what I get is really not enough to live on. But it does include Medicare. You have to wait 2 years to get Medicare. They recognize that you are disabled and that you cannot work, which means you've lost your health insurance. You're not working. You certainly can't afford to go out and privately buy health insurance. They make you wait 24 months before Medicare kicks in. So for 2 years, I did not have health insurance. Now that I do have, and I went through that, I can recognize how fortunate I was as someone who wasn't working, like minimum wage jobs at places that, didn't have to give me benefits, which a lot of people, that's their reality. They're a part-time employee because a lot of places know if they hire you full-time, they might have to give you benefits. This is why I am pro-union. Even though I grew up in a family that owns a business, which of course would be not pro-union because, then as management, you lose some control and things are forced upon you. But as someone who worked as a nurse for 26 years and saw how just a manager deciding they personally didn't like you at a non-union job, that could get you fired, or, suddenly all of a sudden you're getting written up for things, So working at a union facility where you can turn around and say, everyone else in this room is allowed to have their coffee cup in the break room, but I got written up for it, I don't think so. And you bring it to the union and it gets taken care of. So that things like a boss just personally not liking you can't ruin your career, can't jeopardize your job, which would jeopardize your insurance, right along with your income. I've been struggling with a migraine for the last several days. I struggle with migraines regularly. I'm on 2 preventative medications. I've mentioned that before. I'm on Aimovig, which is an injection that you give yourself once a month. The retail price of Aimovig is over $700
You have 1 piece of mail
per dose. Okay. Because of my insurance, I get it for about $50. So that's $50 a month that I have to pay for the injection that would otherwise be over $700. I would not be able to afford it if it were $700. My income from SSD is $2,200 a month. I have to pay my rent, I have to pay my utilities, I have to pay my food, I have to, I have an 18-year-old son who just started college this semester. He's not working, there's a pandemic, and he's a full-time student who required special support throughout his school career, and his grades being good is critical. I want him set up for a good career in the future. So no, I'm not having him take a minimum wage job if he could even get it during a pandemic and potentially bring home to me, who has healthcare problems, something contagious. So yeah, my budget of $2,200 a month would not allow for me to be on a $700 a month medication. And that's just one of the medications I take. Like I said, these last few days, I've been struggling with a migraine, and it just would not, in spite of the 2 preventative meds, the monthly injection, and then there's a tablet that I take twice a day. These are both to help prevent migraines. But in spite of them, sometimes I still get them. I've had one for days. I spoke with my doctor, my neurologist, yesterday, and he called in a prescription for a drug that is related to the injectable I take. It has the same mechanism of action, but it is a rapid acting, and it's meant to try to stop a migraine that's in progress, as opposed to prevent it. And it's an orally disintegrating tablet, meaning you put it on or under your tongue and let it melt and it absorbs in your mouth. I just wanted to tell you how much this costs. This is where the granny glasses have to come on. And again, remember, the government thinks I can live on $2,200 a month. We've already seen that one medicine to help me not be in agony every day would be $700 a month if I didn't have insurance. So obviously I would not be able to afford that. That's more than my rent. So I picked up 2 prescriptions today. The regular one I take for just moderate headaches, that sort of, if it's not your everyday headache like that you might take that Tylenol or Motrin would get rid of, but worse than that, a prescription medication. My insurance paid $152 towards my Furacet. It's a month supply, and I only had to pay $3.60. Now this is the more important, the one that I really wanted to bring to your attention. This is one that my neurologist called in. I had to wait almost 24 hours for my insurance company to give authorization to pay for it, to decide that they were going to cover it. And it's called Nurtec. Like I said, it's a pill that you put and it melts in your mouth. Now, 8 pills, which is all they will give for 30 days. 8 pills. 8 pills, the retail price of this is $1,021.09. You heard me right. 8 pills, a little over $1,000 for 8 pills. My insurance, thank God, paid the majority of it, and I had to pay $44.65. Now, $45 is still a lot out of my budget, but it's to try to get a headache under control. I can work that into my budget. But over $1,000? And you only get 8 pills? And that's the most they will authorize for a month. In fact, it comes in a packet of, to justify, I think, how expensive it is. They have this ridiculously, overkill packaging telling you press here, pull here. I mean, it's to slide these out. And no, it doesn't even want to come out. Press and hold. There we go. But, then I'm trying to cover, my completely personal information, but, there you can see is the 8 pills. There's the one I used. You flip it open, and they're very easily breakable, so you don't want to just push them through. You have to peel the package open and then take the one out and put it in your mouth. And then it goes back into this little cardboard box. But yeah, they will only authorize 8 pills a month and over $1,000. Can you imagine if I had lost my healthcare insurance? There's no way. I wouldn't have been able to get either of these. I wouldn't be able to be on the preventative medications that help tremendously, but this particular week I'm having a migraine that broke through and I'm needing to treat it with something that treats the symptoms, short term, like that you take every 6 hours, and with something that will hopefully, I'm trying for the first time, that will hopefully end the migraine that's been going on for days. But I wouldn't have been able to afford either of these things if I didn't have my insurance, and you can see why. Again, 100 and, what did I say? 150, your insurance saved you $152 on the pills that essentially are like Motrin for someone who has, I'm not comparing them chemically to Motrin, but for someone who has severe headaches, you would take these about as often as the average person who gets a regular, what are usually muscle tension headaches, might take Motrin or Excedrin. Imagine if a bottle of Excedrin cost $152 and your income is $2,000 a month. Imagine if 8 pills of what's going to help when you're experiencing a headache that's so bad that it broke through the 2 expensive preventative medications that you're on, which also required prior authorization because the insurance company doesn't want to automatically cover them. The headache's bad enough that those aren't controlling it, and they want to charge over $1,000 for 8 pills, and they only allow 8 pills a month. You can take 1 pill a day, and you only get to pick 8 days out of 30 or 31. Because there are people who, even on preventatives, have headaches still quite frequently. Like if this headache doesn't go away today, tomorrow I'd want to take another one to try again to try to break it. I only get 8 for the entire month. And like I said, if I didn't have insurance, that would have cost over $1,000, which would have meant I just couldn't have gotten it. So before you think, and it's very easy sometimes when it doesn't affect us personally, it's very easy to, we don't mean to be callous. We don't mean to be uncaring people. At least most of us don't. I believe that. I believe most people don't mean to be uncaring and callous. But it's easy to be like, it's not such a big deal. No, taking away people's health insurance is a very, very, very big deal. It can make their life not livable. It can make their life, if I wasn't on the medications I'm on, for my asthma, for my migraines, for the other complications I have as a result of the spinal cord injury, because the spine was injured all the way up here, so literally every organ, those used voluntarily and involuntarily, were affected. Anything below that, I'm on medication for my bladder. If I didn't have insurance to cover those things, A, I'd probably be in the hospital a lot, and B, my quality of life wouldn't be worth living. It wouldn't be tolerable. As it is, I have headaches a lot of the time, and I have body pain every day. I have a headache part of most days, but it's a mild headache most of the time since I've been on these preventatives. But like I said, this week, for some reason, this migraine, kicked through, and so my doctor had to give me something new to try to break it. And when my pharmacist told me that it was going to be over $1,000 and that she was waiting on the authorization to come through, I was just like, what am I going to do if they don't approve it? What am I going to do if my insurance company says they won't approve this? I don't have $1,000. And again, 8 pills. And over $150 for a 1-month supply of something that I take a few days a week at least. Like I said, the average person, like how they might have to take Tylenol or Motrin for a headache, is how I have to take Fioricet. And I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. It comes down to, do they turn the electric off, or do I suffer in pain because I don't pay for my medications? And no one should have to make that decision. Do I stop taking my asthma preventatives and end up either dead or in the hospital? Because I've been hospitalized so many times for asthma over the course of my life that I've lost count. I couldn't even honestly tell you how many times I've been hospitalized. It's a lot. And sometimes the longest was 18 days. What they call status asthmaticus, which is an asthma attack that just won't break. 18 days in the hospital on steroids, which make you very sick. But it is really the only thing, along with you're getting those breathing treatments by the respiratory therapist every 4 hours around the clock, all night long. They're having to wake you up to give them to help you keep breathing. You're on oxygen. Should I have to do that? Because those inhalers are really expensive too, and without insurance, I couldn't afford those. And those are preventative. I take them every day to prevent an asthma attack from starting. And, just like this, for the asthma, I also have medications that I take to treat if an attack starts. I have a regular rescue inhaler, which usually does the job, but if it's a more severe flare-up, then I have to start using my nebulizer, which, you pour the liquid meds into, and it essentially turns them into like a cool mist vapor that you breathe in. And those are a couple $100 per box. And during, say a week-long flare-up, I might go through 2 boxes of them. And I wouldn't be able to afford that, which would mean I'd have to go into the hospital. So if you think it's not important to protect people's health care and to protect their prescription coverage and their medical coverage, because usually the two go hand in hand, please think about how many people you know who maybe you don't realize the expense of the medications that they're on, and that if they didn't have health care insurance, they wouldn't be able to afford them. They would, like I said, be picking between, do I pay the rent on time? Do I risk getting evicted? Or do I pay for my asthma meds that I need so that I can breathe? And no one should have to make that decision. And certainly in a developed nation, we call ourselves a civilized nation, while millions of Americans don't have health insurance. How is that civilized? I know this is like a bummer of a topic, and this isn't something people like to think about. But like I said, I don't think we choose to be uncaring. I don't think we make a conscious decision to say, well, I'm not going to care about people. But it's easy to be complacent and just, because it's unpleasant, to not think about it. I think about it every month because, like I said, I'm on medications, and I know how much I spend on them out of pocket still, and that's with insurance. But when I have to do something like this, like get a new medication and wait and worry if the insurance is going to cover it, and then see, that it's only 8 pills a month, and too bad if I need it more than that, that's all they're covering, and that the drug company is charging over $1,000 for those 8 pills. I mean, shame on them. But our government's okay with that. Our government is okay with those billionaires owning those drug companies charging $1,000 for those 8 pills that normal, average working Americans, or in my case, retired disabled, previously working as a professional Americans, cannot possibly afford to pay $1,000. So before you think it's okay that our government, any portion, any segment of our government wants to take away people's health care, please think of the real impact that would have on millions and millions of your fellow Americans. And if you're not American and you're watching this, you might be like, holy crap, is she really telling the truth? Yes, she is. I wish I could say it was a joke and that the retail price that I told you of over $1,000 wasn't real, and that I didn't have to sit for 24 hours in pain between when my doctor ordered it while my insurance company deliberated on whether or not they were going to approve it, so that instead of $1,000, I paid, what was it, like $45. But that's the reality here in the United States. And the fact that people are okay with our government talking about taking away insurance from people who have it and taking away the protection of pre-existing condition clauses. If I had to go to a new insurance company and they took away the pre-existing condition clause, they wouldn't have to cover any of this because they'd say, you already have migraines, we're not covering that. Which means they would never have to treat them. You already have asthma, we don't have to treat that. I've had asthma since I'm 8 years old and I'm going to have it until the day I die. They would never have to pay for it. But our government is trying to take those protections away from us. As I record this, the Supreme Court is trying to take that away from us. So, please, it's not just some political rhetoric. It's not just stuff politicians say to get elected. It's stuff that really affects American people's lives. Everyone needs to be able to have health insurance. It needs to be affordable, and it needs to cover pre-existing conditions. And I thank you for taking the time to listen. If you're still with me, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I swear most of my videos are not heavy like this. Check out my other playlists. And please share this video so that maybe people who need their eyes opened to what just one little person is going through with the cost of medications and what would happen to that one little person if they lost their health insurance or if pre-existing conditions no longer had to be covered. Maybe they can then in their head say, this one person is speaking about it, but it affects millions of people. So maybe if they hear that, it'll make them realize how important it is to help their fellow Americans fight to keep their health insurance. Thank you, and as always, from my heart, I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Have a great day.